Today I'll be telling you about a sport called bo-taoshi, which name roughly means pull the pole down. Bo-taoshi is played at schools and military training academies in Japan. It is thought that the sport was first played in 1945 by the Japanese militia as a way of preparing them for battle in a tumultuous period for the country. It's a high-contact sport known for its brutality and high injury rate, as well as being played at the National Defense Academy of Japan on its anniversary every year between teams playing for the honor of their battalion. While there may not be many rules, the ones they have are definitely interesting. Rule number 1. The player is not allowed to wear any kind of shoes while playing because it's considered too dangerous. Instead, they usually wear these toe sock things. Rule number 2. Officially, players cannot punch or kick their opponent, and breaking these rules will result in a foul. As such, if a team gets 3 fouls, their team loses the game automatically. And while this is a technical rule, it's usually ignored by the referees. Rule number 3. While the offensive unit can go anywhere on the field, the defensive unit is only allowed around and on the pole. Rule number 4. Players are only allowed to make contact with other players within the 88 feet circle. Rule number 5. The rules prohibit the pole from being removed from the ground and stipulate that one end of the pole should always be touching the ground. Now it's time for the basic overview. The object of the game is to lower the pole of the opposing team before they can lower yours. Bo-taoshi is played between two teams of 150 players each, and the players don't have a lot of gear besides helmets, knee pads, and athletic cups. The team consists of 75 attackers wearing their team colors, which are usually bright, and 75 defenders wearing white. Within the defensive unit, there is 5 roles. We have the pole support, and they do pretty much what they sound like they do, which is just make sure the pole stays in an upright position. Then we have the barrier, which is just a bunch of the defense unit forming a barricade around the pole. There's interference, who harass any opposing force that makes it past the barrier, as well as the scrum disabler, whose job is to counteract the offensive scrum so that the pole attackers cannot use their scrum to propel themselves above the melee and onto the pole. And finally, we have the ninja. They are the people that are kind of squatting on the very top of the pole. The pole is shifting to one side. It is their job to counter the shifting by directing their weight to the opposite side, as well as fend off any attackers trying to get control of the pole by kicking them and so forth. As for the offensive unit, there are 3 main roles. We have the scrum, the pole attackers, and the general support attackers. The scrum acts as stepping blocks for the team to jump on them and propel themselves over the barrier and onto the pole, while the pole attackers try and tip over the pole. They are accountable for starting the collapse of the pole using their body weight and just general force. And the general support attackers just act as a diversion, quite like the role interference on the defensive unit. Now that we've gone all over the rules, basics, and team roles, let's get into the actual game. Before the game can even start, teams will engage in boisterous chants and other rituals. To start the game, the defenders of each team will set up their poles in their respective circles. The poles are 10 to 16 feet high, and they have to be set up in the middle of a circle that is 88 feet wide. Once both teams' defenders are in place, they will raise their hands upward to signal that they are ready for the game to begin. To actually start the game, both teams have to wait for a gunshot. You're allowed to tackle, wrestle, climb over defenders and form walls so that your teammates can use you as a springboard in order to try and reach the top of the pole to pull it down. The defenders will do virtually anything to stop this. Whichever team first lowers the opponent's pole down to a 30-degree angle wins. The sport bo-taoshi is relevant to American society because of the United States' close relationship with Japan. Our society, students especially, should learn about Japanese culture because one day some of us might be in a position of power or businessmen and women. And as such, that insight into their culture might come in handy in meetings or in foreign trade deals. For example, there are more than 30,000 American alumni of the Japanese government-sponsored Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, including nearly 200 Japan Exchange and Teaching Program alumni working at the Department of State. Additionally, the Fulbright program in Japan has sent nearly 7,500 young Japanese on Fulbright scholarships to the United States since 1952. There are also 37 United States-based Japan-America chapters, many of which are sustained by the close business ties between the United States and Japan. Also, more than 800,000 Americans are employed by Japanese firms in the United States. The United States and Japan also share more sister city relationships with each other than with any other country. As 2020 is the 60th anniversary of the United States-Japan Security Treaty, we should honor the country that has been a big ally to us. Another reason why it is relevant is because of all the Japanese immigrants that have come to America and will still come to America later on. So by familiarizing ourselves with Japanese culture, American society can not only become closer, but more understanding of others who are far more different than us. I got all of my sources online by websites like www.tofuga.com, sportsaspire.com, www.dailydot.com, theculturetrip.com, www.nytimes.com, and also the official website for the United States Department of State, www.state.gov. Thank you for watching my presentation. I really appreciate it.